In the grand tapestry of rock history, few stories are as haunting, as brilliant, and as heartbreakingly human as the rise and fall of Pink Floyd. Behind the lasers, the concept albums, and the unforgettable live shows, there was turmoil, deep, creative, and personal, and now, decades later, David Gilmour has finally opened up about the real reason Pink Floyd fell apart. What truly caused one of the most legendary bands in history to break from within? Was it fame, ego, or something far deeper, something that even time couldn't heal? Welcome to Legend Uncovered. Today we peel back the curtain on the truth that tore Pink Floyd apart. The golden era that hid the cracks Pink Floyd wasn't just a band, Ewan, it was an era. When David Gilmour joined in 1967, replacing the increasingly unstable Syd Barrett, he brought a precision and melodic touch that helped shape the band's signature sound. Albums like Metal, The Dark Side of the Moon, and Wish You Were Here turned Pink Floyd into a living myth, a band that blended philosophy, sound design, and raw emotion like no one else. But success can be the loudest silence. While their music soared, their relationships quietly fractured. As Gilmour later revealed, it was like living inside a storm made of brilliance and bitterness. We were creating perfection, but losing ourselves in the process. Roger Waters and the power struggle, the tension between David Gilmour and Roger Waters was legendary. Waters was the visionary, the conceptual mind behind The Wall and Animals. Gilmour, on the other hand, was the soul, the melodic architect who made those visions sing. But as the 1970s rolled on, those roles began to clash. Waters grew more controlling, more insistent on being the driving force. Gilmour, meanwhile, wanted balance, a sense of unity that had long vanished. In one interview, Gilmour confessed, "It stopped being a band. It became one person's vehicle. The joy of creating together disappeared." During the recording of The Wall, things reached a breaking point. Waters dismissed longtime keyboardist Richard Wright, an act that stunned Gilmour. Behind the scenes, David was furious, not just at the decision, but at what it represented, the end of brotherhood replaced by business and ego. The breaking point, by the early 1980s, Pink Floyd was a battlefield of silence. Gilmour would record his guitar parts alone. Waters would rewrite lyrics without consultation. Communication had collapsed completely. When the final cut was released in 1983, Gilmour barely recognized it as a Floyd album. He later said, "It wasn't Pink Floyd anymore. It was a Roger Waters solo record with my guitar on it." Soon after, Roger Waters walked away, publicly declaring the band a spent force. But for Gilmour, that was the final spark he needed. He refused to let Pink Floyd die. He gathered Richard Wright and drummer Nick Mason, and in 1987 they released A Momentary Lapse of Reason without Waters. It was both a rebirth and a rebellion. Waters sued them for using the name Pink Floyd. Gilmour stood his ground, saying, "I fought for the right to keep the band alive," because Pink Floyd was never one person's dream. The emotional cost, despite their success, the wounds ran deep. In later interviews, Gilmour admitted that fame had magnified their insecurities, turning creative disagreements into personal wars. "We were young men who didn't know how to talk to each other," he said. "Instead of speaking, we argued through music." Years later, during Pink Floyd's 2005 reunion at Live 8, Gilmour and Waters shared the stage again. A brief, emotional truce that fans thought would last. But it didn't. After the performance, Gilmour quietly said, "That was it for me. I did it for the fans, and for the memory of what we once were." He later revealed in a BBC interview, "There's no hate anymore, just distance. Roger and I see the world differently, musically and personally." What really broke Pink Floyd so? What truly ended Pink Floyd? According to David Gilmour, it wasn't money, fame, or even ego. It was control. He once told Mojo magazine, "Roger wanted to lead, and I didn't want to follow. I wanted a democracy. He wanted a kingdom." In his eyes, the band fell apart because its creative soul became divided. Waters wanted message over melody. Gilmour wanted balance between the two. That division grew until even the music couldn't bridge it. Yet, despite all the pain, Gilmour remains proud, not bitter. The music we made still moves people. That's all that matters. The rest, it's just noise. The legacy lives on today. David Gilmour lives a quieter life surrounded by family and his beloved guitars. He continues to record and perform occasionally, not for fame, but for peace. Pink Floyd as a band may have fractured beyond repair, but their legacy remains untouched. Their music still echoes across generations, reminding the world of what can happen when genius meets tension and creation meets chaos, as Gilmour once said. Pink Floyd was a dream that burned bright, too bright to last. But I'm grateful I was part of it. In the end, the real reason Pink Floyd fell apart wasn't betrayal or bitterness. It was the simple tragedy of too much brilliance under one roof. Too many voices, all speaking truth in different languages. And yet, through all the pain and the silence, the music remains, unbroken, eternal. This is Legend Uncovered, where the truth behind the legends finally comes to light.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.